Hi, welcome back to Diet Coke and Decorating. This is our seventh episode. We're so glad you're here. I'm Mallory Matheson Glenn, and we're here in Atlanta in our design studio. Today, I'm joined by Dorothy Holt, who is an associate designer here at MMI, and we've worked together for almost 5 years. Dorothy is a Columbus, Georgia native, and we're so happy to have her today. Today on Diet Coke and Decorating, we have a little bit of a mix up. Rather than interviewing a guest, we've asked all of our social media friends on Instagram to submit questions, design dilemmas, advice, favorite paint color, and we're going to be taking a few of those questions and really diving into each one. And Dorothy's here to help me along with that process. So, Dorothy, thank you so much for joining me on Diet Coke and
Of
Decorating.
course. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here. And like you said, I'm excited to invite all of you into the office and hear all of your burning questions and kind of dig into Mallory's thoughts and see what we think. So diving right in, we kind of just want to start with what would be your suggestion for a lead fabric with blues, greens, and pinks for a jewel box inspired living room?
I love this question. So anytime that we hear the word jewel box, I love that. That's a great descriptor because it means something that's going to be bold, saturated, and fairly intimate. I love that. So I've got three fabrics to share with you. With our friend who asked the question about this, the first fabric is a Brocone Pierre Fray. This is a fabric that I absolutely love personally. I have this on some pillows in my living room, and it has got a beautiful celadon green, kind of a teal blue in it. It's so pretty. And then lots of shades of coral and raspberry, a pretty chinoiserie print with some pagodas and bridges. It's really lovely. The next fabric that I have as a suggestion has got a little bit more of like a peony, like, just a little bit more of a clear pink and raspberry, some different shades of green, touch of yellow, and a nice aqua blue. The Sanderson print called, I think my readers, it's called Poet's Garden in Raspberry. So this is a warp print, which typically you see in ECATs, and I love how this is a floral, but it feels kind of modern because the threads are kind of dragged down, so it doesn't have a really defined edge to the pattern. The third suggestion I'm going to use is one of my all-time favorite prints. It is Brunswick and Fee Fabriano, and this is a very large, overscaled print. The background is celadon, but it has cobalt blue in it. It also has aqua. It also has leaf green, Kelly green, emerald green. It's one of these fabrics that has so many colors. It's got raspberry, it's got shell pink. So not only does it have one green, pink, and blue, it's got a whole array of green, pinks, and blues, and it's a huge print. So it works really well on upholstery and on window treatments. So those are three ideas for a jewel box living room. And I do think that one way you can really make something feel like a jewel box is to wrapping the whole space and same thing. So if I were going to do a living room out of this fabric, I would do the wallpaper and the window treatments and the upholstery all out of the same thing.
It's beautiful. The
Yeah.
Fabriano is one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah. So you're stepping into the middle of the jade
It's gorgeous.
in a garden.
In a garden and wherever in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What would be one of your favorite blue paint colors for a bedroom?
Okay, so blue is one of the most soothing, calming colors. So it is definitely a go-to for a bedroom. I pulled a few of my favorites right here. One of my favorite colors always is Fair and Ball Pale Powder. And this is such a soft, almost like white with drops of blue in it. It's very, very soft, very, very light. Fair and Ball Pale Powder. Another color that I love and have used in bedrooms, breakfast rooms, living rooms, it's beautiful, is Benjamin Moore Woodlawn Blue. This is HC 147. It's a little bit more of a saturated blue. Very pretty. And then another go-to blue that I have used many times over and over and it continues to be a wonderful color, is Benjamin Moore Quiet Moments, which is 1563. That's also a fun color to use in a nursery, Quiet Moments, sort of just like manifesting like a quiet, serene space. And I have a bonus on this question. I'm going to show everybody my go-to favorite soft blue-green chameleon color for ceilings, which is Benjamin Moore Silvercrest, which is 1583. I first learned about this color in, gosh, I would say 2000, maybe it was, when my mom was building my parents' house in Auburn, Alabama, and she tested a million colors. I was still in college, and she painted all of the ceilings in their house silvercrest. And what I love about it is in the corners or in the shadows or when it's overcast, it looks more kind of blue green, but in bright light, it looks white. It feels like it is not that we want any decisions to feel like an afterthought, but I love the idea of walking into a room, getting settled, talking, and then looking up after you've been sitting there for a few minutes or whatever and say, oh my gosh, is your ceiling blue? And it's just so subtle that you don't notice.
Absolutely.
It's very innuendo. So I love Silvercrest.
It takes on its surroundings, which I think we love in so many environments.
Yeah. And we love using chameleon colors that change with the light, change with the weather, change with whatever other colors are around them. I think that makes it very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question. What do you feel is the best hostess gift for a Southern lady?
Okay, what a fun question. I love that, whoever sent that one in. Well, obviously, people love to give bottles of wine. They love to bring candles. They love to bring little things that you can have around your house, maybe cocktail napkins. But here's a different idea. Whenever you go to estate sales, whenever you go to flea markets, I've mentioned before on this series, going to like Antiques and Beyond on Cheshire Bridge Road. If anybody has a chance to visit flea markets or markets when they're traveling, pick up saucers. So I love the idea of getting a collection of different vintage saucers and dishes that you can buy for, anywhere from like $5 to $20 wherever you're traveling, and keep them in a drawer and then give them as a hostess gift. These are so wonderful to put that candle in with the matches, to fill full of chocolates, to fill full of paper clips, to just have around and use as a coaster. We don't really condone a traditional coaster here. I don't like those. But obviously, it is kind of polarizing for people to get rings of condensation on their furniture. So using a saucer, a vintage saucer, is such a better way to prevent that.
Absolutely.
So look at that.
A chic solution.
It's such a chic solution. Having a couple of these you can choose from, and you can get them in different patterns, different styles. So whatever whatever style the hostess of the event you're going to, you can kind of pair his or her style to the gift. And I will say today, it's later in the day. We've already had a few Diet Cokes. So yeah, Dorothy and I are supporting our next door neighbor's Bear Day with some margaritas.
Okay, next question. This is a big one, which I'm excited to hear your thoughts on. What would be one of your favorite wallpapers for a foyer?
Okay, so for a foyer, for an entry, this is the first thing people see once they get past your front door. So you really want your entrance to be a little taste of what's to come. I think that foyers, like powder rooms, are a place where you can go bold, because it's not a place that you're spending a long time in it. It's a place, a foyer is a space that you probably get a lot of sight lines around in other rooms, but you're not actually in that room. So going with the print, going with the scale that is a little bit larger, something that's going to be really impactful, I think is great. I have a few examples. My first one is, kind of go big or go home. This is an incredible Laminac through Pierre Frey called Taraz, and it is just such a fabulous pattern. this could go in a very traditional house, it could go in a contemporary house, it could, I feel like go almost anywhere in the world. It could be coastal, it could be, New York City apartment, it could be um, southern Atlanta, Georgian. It could really be anything. And I love that this print has so many colors. So what you want to do is find a print that picks up on the different colors that are in your house. This specific pattern I think would look fabulous with a high gloss chocolate brown trim or chocolate brown door. Another example, if you've been around for very long, been our friend on social media, you know that we love chinoiserie. And this is an example of Scalamandre Peen. So this is a wallpaper shown in two different colorways, kind of a cerulean blue, and then this wonderful alabaster. And I want to use the alabaster as my example here because while this paper is light and bright and it has kind of an open pattern, it has such a beautiful color palette to choose from. My sort of like dream scenario off this is again, I'm going to go back to the chocolate brown trim, and then an ochre door. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Fabulous,
and maybe a red, maybe a vermilion red lantern hanging.
Gorgeous. I love that paper.
Yeah. My third point on an entry foyer is everybody loves a classic stripe. I love a stripe that has a little bit more going on than just a stripe. So a stripe that's a vine, a stripe that is that's kind of like organic or that moves, or a stripe that has a little bit more personality to it. One of my favorites, actually have this in my own house in a kind of ochre goldenrod color, is George Spencer Palm Stripe. That is a classic always. And then I want to just show this because this is a stripe with more than a stripe because it's a stripe, it's an EPAT, it's also a grass cloth. So this wallpaper really has so much interest, and that's a great way that if you want to go with something that's more tonal, you can still get so much interest and so much depth
and movement. Yeah, I will say the palm stripe is one of my favorites, and I think you mentioned it's potentially in Kensington Palace.
It is.
You said, which is,
Palace.
I mean, that has the best taste. So that's
right.
A go-to. Okay, next question. This might be a little controversial. So, do interior doors need to match throughout the house and or across all the floors?
So, we love painting doors a color that is not white. And I think this is such an easy way to infuse a lot of personality into your house. I think that if you have doors that are within the same like sight line, if you have a long hallway or if you have a place in your house where you see a lot of doors, all of those doors need to be the same color. So when they're on the outside. So if you're looking down a hallway and it's doors that open into bedrooms, all of the doors that are facing the hallway need to be the same color. All the doors in my house are painted high gloss black, which I love. I do think that having a color that you can use throughout the house that isn't white, but that really complements the overall palette is a very kind of unexpected way to get a jolt of personality. We have a house that we worked on together, and all of the doors in the house are Parma gray, very bold Parma gray. And the trim is mostly white or shades of white. There's some other colors throughout, but the Parma gray just really becomes the neutral and goes with everything.
Right.
So I would say yes, doors need to be the same color as long as you can see them at the same time.
Right.
If you have totally different levels and there's no way you're standing there looking at the same door at the same time, I think that they could be different colors. And I don't love the idea of like a Crayola box door,
right?
But
just some consistency,
something that stays succinct and cohesive.
Absolutely. Okay, great. All right, next question. In terms of a primary bedroom, do you suggest saving or splurging on a rug?
Okay, so for your primary bedroom, it's really a retreat that you're going to spend a lot of time in. I think there are absolutely a few places that I would suggest splurging. I don't think the rug is one of them. I think that a rug is something in a bedroom, especially, that you want it to be soft. You want it to be kind of lush and comfortable, but it doesn't have to be overly expensive. It needs to fit the room. It does not need to be too small and right under the bed. It needs to really fit the room and have, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches off the sides of the baseboards. But you can easily go in Atlanta. You can go to Myers. There's so many beautiful cut Wiltons that you can find something that's very reasonable, or even a softer sisal is fine in a bedroom. In your bedroom, you really want to think about what you're seeing. And I admittedly love to spend time in my bed. So I feel that art is important, which may seem like an unexpected answer because people say, "Well, you're asleep when you're in your bedroom." But I like to work in my bed. I like to listen to podcasts, watch TV, talk on the phone. So art to me in my bedroom is important. I also think that what you put on the walls and the window treatments, potentially things that you actually see when you're in the bed, are more impactful than the rug. And then I think maybe if you're looking for one place to really splurge in your bedroom, that it would be on your sheets.
Yeah,
go
I agree.
Go for the good stuff.
I mean, it's where you spend half of your life,
right?
Is in your bed.
Right,
so, I mean,
right.
Absolutely.
Or more if we're lucky.
If we're lucky, fingers crossed. Okay, next question. What do you think is the perfect kitchen cabinet color that is not white?
So I do love a white kitchen. I feel like we kind of go back and forth on this. A couple of years ago, we did all blue kitchens. Just happened to be that way. Did a lot of green kitchens. My favorite kitchen cabinet color, which is not the color of cabinets in my own house, but it really is my favorite, is Sherwin-Williams sea salt. It is the color of the millwork that's here in our office. We've done a few kitchens for clients out of this color. It is just such a beautiful, soft, clean, crisp, blue green, but very, very soft and pale.
I think we brought up the word chameleon a lot, and I feel like sea salt is such a chameleon color. It can bleed into whatever is coming off the living room or the dining room, wherever, in whichever project we're working on. Really, it's a beautiful color.
It is, and it really complements almost every single palette. I can't think of any color that sea salt really doesn't complement or make better. So
absolutely. Okay, next question. Ceiling fans, hideous but sometimes necessary. What do we do?
So I think ceiling fans are a creature comfort. We're here in Atlanta. We're here in the South. We're both from the South. We know that it gets hot in the summertime. I think if you love a ceiling fan, do not deny yourself the ceiling fan. Just go for it. I think ceiling fans should be felt, not seen. I think they should never have a light kit, and I really think they should go away. So having something that is kind of sleek, that is not ornate at all, that just you feel it, but you don't see it. And if for some reason you have a situation where you need that air, like let's say in your bedroom, but you have a canopy bed, so you can't use a ceiling fan, the Dyson corner column fan is also great.
Right.
But I love a ceiling fan, and I have a few of them in my house. I know it's controversial. My mom hates one of them and tries to get me to change it constantly. But in the summertime, I'm so grateful for the cold air.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this heat, you have to have some reprieve every now and then. Okay. One of our Instagram friends has asked if you're trying to hide a TV on a blank wall in his or her kitchen, what are your suggestions?
So TVs have come such a long way. I am not really a fan of trying to hide a TV anymore. It is what it is. For the evolution of entertainment, having these great Samsung TVs, here's my suggestion. Get a small Samsung Art TV, get a very simple frame, have that frame powder coated, maybe the same color as your wall, or if you have a wallpaper, pick a color from the wallpaper and have it powder coated, and then put a piece of artwork on that Samsung TV that is either a still life or a modern painting of a bowl of fruit or something that's kind of kitchen related, and then surround that TV with other pieces of art that also are still lifes of fruit. Make the TV, what's on the TV, feel like it's naturally part of the other art in the room, and turn it into an installation.
Yeah, and then
add some plates in.
Yeah, and then it goes away. And also, it's something that you can look at, but doesn't feel like an eyesore.
Yeah, I think those Samsung, and I know there are a few other companies that do them now, but I think the art TVs have really transformed.
Absolutely. In the last decade.
Really transformed it.
Yeah.
They're so flat. They just lay against the wall. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, final question, also from one of our Instagram friends. What is the color of our office doors?
So the doors in our office, the millwork, like I said earlier, is Sherwin-Williams sea salt. Actually, our door surrounds are my favorite go-to white, Benjamin Moore Cloud White. And the doors are Faro and Ball Coppage Blue. They're done in a lacquer finish. Coppage Blue it's now an archive color. It is one of my favorite kind of deep Prussian kind of teal colors.
Mm-hmm.
I love it on doors. It's so beautiful in a bar, in a small space where you're really wanting to get a beautiful, deep color. I mean, it looks sort of like you're looking into a beautiful Italian lake. It's just so it's I think Coppage Blue. It's the actual definition is more about England because it's
Mm-hmm.
very Paul, but it's one of my favorites, and we used it on doors in the past few offices that
Mm-hmm.
we've had,
That's lovely. It's followed us.
and it has
Yeah.
it's become kind of our signature thing is the
Yeah.
Coppage Blue doors.
Absolutely. Well, that is all the questions that we have. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Dorothy, thank you so much for going through these questions for me from our Instagram friends. And I know we didn't hit every one of the questions, but I really wanted to thoughtfully answer a handful of them, two handfuls, so we did 8. And then, that would be 10, but and we will answer some more. So we'll do this again.
Mm-hmm.
Since you are in the hot seat for our Diet Coke and
gosh.
decorating as our guest, I'm going to ask you 2 questions that we
Okay.
ask all of our guests who come on Tech Cook and Decorating. The first is, what is something you would never have in your home?
What I would never have in my home. I think it would probably be what I like to call placeholder art.
Okay.
Artwork that, if you're renovating your home and you've just moved in, or if you've been there for a long time, you aren't quite sure what to put there. Placeholder art just feels not natural to me. I feel like in my experience, you should wait for something that you absolutely fall in love with. And, I can understand having a big blank wall or having something that you just feel, something needs to be there. I can get that itch, but having something and finding something that you absolutely love and you will keep for a lifetime is just beyond anything than a placeholder can find somewhere, anywhere. So I think that's one thing that I would never incorporate into my own home.
Okay. That's great advice.
I can understand it to do that, but it's something that I would avoid.
So no art from big box stores.
No.
When you're at Target or some other places, we love Target for so many things, but not for art.
No.
And I do think that if you have a big wall and you need to fill it, you can get an inexpensive mirror. There are some really cute mirrors now that are at places like Target. Just do something that's a mirror, throw some plates on the side of it, like make it something, but not a placeholder piece of art. That doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't feel personal. So I think that would be my. I'm sure there's others, but
I totally agree. I think that's a great tip for anyone who's thinking about starting a collection or working on their home from an art perspective. Next question is, what is something that you think everyone should have in their home?
Let's see. This feels a little personal to me. I'm sure the girls will laugh, but I'm a self-proclaimed Francophile, and I also kind of have that travel bug. So I feel that incorporating things from your travels and from your passions that inspire you. Specifically for me, Marie Antoinette is always a lifelong inspiration for me. So anything that you feel is inspirational, across from where you've been, whether it be in the country, out of the country, wherever. Thinking of things like whether that be artwork, whether that be decorative objects or books. I like to at all my travels. A saucer. On all my travels, I like to pick up books, something that's inexpensive that you can take home and throw in your luggage that won't be 1,000 pounds, and just remind you of where you've been in life and as you go through different stages. I think that's something that's really important to incorporate in your home.
I completely agree, and that is such a big part of storytelling in your home, having things that speak to experiences you've had, places you've been, and the person that you are, and having those pieces that you picked up along your travels and adventures that remind you of really special locations that you've been and you potentially want to go back, I think it's a great thing for everyone to do.
Absolutely.
I mean,
If
you
we're lucky
somebody
enough to
walks in
go.
your house and says, "Dorothy loves France."
I think that's what they get. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
Absolutely.
Dorothy, thank you so much for being
Thank
a part of
you.
our Diet Coke
This
and
was so
decorating
fun.
today. And I hope that everyone who watches this has gotten a little bit of inspiration. We're going to link some of these things so people can know exactly what they are. And it's been really fun to get some questions from our Instagram friends, think about how we would answer and be able to put some information together. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hope you're enjoying our content. We've got some really fun things planned throughout the end of the summer and the fall. So we're grateful that you're here. Thank you so much and cheers.
Cheers.